It's every orc's dream to one day be the biggest and the bestest greenskin days ever was. To become the toughest and killiest war boss with a massive war under his command. An orc so brutal and cunning that days could outsmart and outcrump all other war bosses that dared to try and beat him. Well, all except one. The one orc who truly stands above all others. The only orc that has been able to get all us orky clans to play nice with each other for more than a couple of seconds. I'm talking about the big boss man himself, Ghazghkull Mag Uruk Thraka, the prophet of the Great War. Let's do a deep dive on this big old Git and see what makes him so special. Listen up, lads. Welcome back to the Daily Crumper. And today, we's talking about big old Ghazzy himself. Our most known named character in the Orky arsenal, the supreme commander of all Gitz, and the closest thing that we's got to an Orky version of a Primarch. So, today I'm going to be going over who the boss is, including what he comes with, throw a couple of attachments of where the boss shines in the most, give you a couple list ideas that include the big man himself, of course, and then I'll run you over Tabletop Sim, show you how I'd run this lad in-game. And that last part, I'll be doing a little bit differently, as opposed to just showing you how I deploy a typical list. I'm going to show you a couple different configurations as to what units I would run Gaz with, because of course with his most recent update, he can join a whole heaping load of different lad units now. So, with that all out of the way, let's get into it. So, as always, first thing we're going to go over is Ghazzy's good old datasheet. So for his stats, you see he has a 5-inch movement, he's toughness 6, he has a 2-up armor save with a 4-up invulnerability save, he's a whopping 10 wounds with a 6-up leadership and 4 OC. And along with Ghazzy, you can't forget his good old pal Makari, the Grot. Makari also moves 5 inches, counts as being toughness 6, probably just to not be confused with alternating toughness values. Has a 7-up armor save, but with a 2-up invulnerable save, which does have a caveat, which is, you can't really see it, but it's in very dark black writing. I don't know why they did this, but it just says that you can't reroll invulnerability saves made for this model. Just means that Makari's got a 2-up invuln until you fail it. He's only got 1 wound, he has an 8-up leadership and 1 OC. As for what the unit's equipped with, there's no options here. You get what you pay for. As for Ghazzy, his ranged weapon is Mork's Roar. Is a rapid fire 4 weapon with 12 shots at 36-inch range, meaning at 18-inch range or half range, you will be getting 16 shots. Hits on 5 because he's an orc. He's the best orc, but he still hits like any old normal orc. Strength 5, AP 0, 1 damage. So not particularly impressive. It's good. I mean, it's not even good at clearing chaff units, which is the best unit to be firing this weapon into. But when I think of chaff units, I'm thinking like guardsmen. But most of the time, a guardsman's gonna have a 4-up save and cover. And a lot of times, if you're getting Ghazzy into the fray, odds are he's on an advance to then be able to charge off of something like a war. So he's not going to be able to shoot his gun on the way in anyways. But if it's later in the game, turns 3, 4, 5, Ghazzy's already up in the middle of the board, doesn't need to be advancing around or anything. And if you need to plink a couple wounds off that last Marine over in the corner, then it's not bad. A gun's a gun at the end of the day. As for his melee weapon, he's got Gork's Claw. Seeing as how he's a big git, he has both a strike and a sweep profile for you to choose from. The strike profile is 6 attacks, hitting on 2s at strength 14, AP 3, 4 flat damage. Now, there's a lot of different reasons why you want to run Gaz, especially now, again with this update. But the first point that you're definitely going to want to bring this lad is because of that melee profile. Strength 14 means you're wounding everything in the game on at least 3s. AP 3 melee is weirdly hard to come by in the Orc army, so having that on the big man's very nice. And again, 4 damage is also very hard to come by in the Orc army, so being able to have a unit that can just, with every failed save, pick up something like an Alaris Custodian or a Deathwing Knight or something like that is very beneficial to your game plan. And if you're not smashing, you can be sweeping with 12 attacks, twice as much, still hitting on 2s, strength 8, AP 2, 2 damage. So your typical Power Fist equivalent melee profile except on the sweep. Which means Gaz, using his sweep attacks, especially on the wall, is going to be picking up entire units of basic Beaky Marines, no problem. So he's definitely got a high damage output in melee. And as for Makari, he's got his cheeky little stabber. It's got devastating wounds. It's only 1 attack, hits on a 4, strength 3, AP 0, 1 damage. Usually he's just there for fun. If he gets the devastating wound off, you're having a zogging good time. If he doesn't, it's whatever. As for his abilities over here, he's a leader, he's got the war faction ability. His first rule here is Prophet of the Great War. While this unit is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to the hit roll and 1 to the wound roll. And if the war is active for your army, a critical hit is scored on a successful unmodified hit roll of a 5+. And that's going to pair very nicely with his second ability off of Makari, the Ghazghkull's War Banner. It's an aura. While a friendly Orcs unit is within 12 inches of Makari specifically, if the wall is active for your army, melee weapons equipped by models in that unit have the lethal hits ability. So, meaning that during the war, Makari is going to give that 12-inch bubble of lethal hits to all your fellow lads, plus whatever Gitz Gaz is leading will be getting lethal hits on 5s and 6s due to the Prophet of the Great War ability. In addition to the +1 to hit and wound that Ghazzy gives to his unit as well. So he's got that extra bonus on top of what a normal boss gives of just being the +1 to hit. He also gives you the +1 to wound, which definitely ups the damage output on many units that Gaz can go with. Because as we see up here, in the leader section, good old Gaz can be attached to boys, breaker boys, mega knobs, and knob units. Now previously, Gaz could only go with mega knobs. And it wasn't until the past data slate that came out recently that boys, breaker boys, and knobs was added. And this big leader change is one of, if not the main reason that a lot of Orc players are talking about bringing Ghazzy as much as Days is now. Is because the options are limitless with how you can run this lad. And everybody's going back and forth, arguing between what do you run Gaz with? Do you stick him with mega knobs like you could before? Do you run him with the normal knobs? Do you try out the breaker boys, even though there's not as many models with them? Or do you run him with big bricks of boys? What do you do? Well, I've got my own opinions on it, just like everybody else does, and I'll show you that once we get to Tabletop Sim, because it'll be much easier for me to show you on the tabletop how you need to run this kid. But aside from that, he's got the Supreme Command ability, just saying that he has to be a warlord if he's in your army. Ghazzy's the war boss to end all other war bosses, so it makes sense that he needs to be the big boss when he's showing up to the battle. And other than that, for the pair of these lads, Ghazzy and Makari, you get them for 235 points, which is pricey, especially for the Orc army. but I feel like what you get for 235 is very, very nice. The issue where things get real expensive is deciding who you's gonna pair Ghazzy with up here in this leader section, which again, we're gonna talk about that later. Now, as an added thing to note that'll go over really quickly, another big change that happened with the data slate was to the battle wagon model. And what changed was down here in this transport section down here, that says this model has a transport capacity of 22 Orc infantry models. If this model is equipped with a kill cannon, it can have a transport capacity of 12 Orc infantry models. Each mega armor or jump pack model takes up the space of 2 models. The Ghazghkull Thracker model takes up the space of 4 models. So this is where everybody's been talking how Gaz finally completed his weight loss program. Because before, Ghazzy couldn't go in any transport except the battle wagon, and that has remained the same, but the battle wagon's transport capacity, called out Ghazzy, has taken up, I believe, 20 spaces, is what it was before. So basically, if you want to run Gaz in a battle wagon, you had to buy a 160 point battle wagon just for Gaz and Makari, I guess. Because the two of them together would take up 21 of the 22 spots in the transport. All the Gitz was saying, it was basically like you'd be giving Gaz a skateboard, because for one, he's so zugging big, it looks kind of funny if you try to shove him in a vehicle. But two, if you did manage to shove his big old butt into a vehicle, you couldn't put anything else in there with him. So nobody did that. So what did G-Dubs do? They changed it to where the Ghazghkull Thracker Gitz took up 16 spaces in the battle wagon. To where now you could take Gaz, Makari, and a couple Mega Knobs and throw them all in a battle wagon and have enough spots to take all of them Gitz. But even then, nobody did that because they didn't want to pay, again, 160 points just to make Ghazzy a bit faster. And on top of it, there was a bit of a rules conundrum with it, because the way it was worded, Gitz was confused as to whether the Ghazghkull Thracker unit took up 16 spaces, or the Ghazghkull Thracker model took up 16 spaces, or anything with the Ghazghkull Thracker keyword took up 16 spaces. The issue is, again, because Ghazzy comes with Makari as a 2 model unit, how does that work? They fixed it with this newest update that specifically calls out Ghazghkull Thracker model taking up a space of 4 slots. But again, before it didn't say that. It just said Ghazghkull Thracker takes up 16 spaces. So does that mean Gaz and Makari together take up 17? 16 for Gaz, 1 for Makari? Or is it Gaz is 16 and Makari 16 because he's got the Ghazghkull keyword, so the two of them together take up 32? Or was it meant to be the Ghazghkull unit takes up 16, meaning Makari is already lumped in with it? Nobody really knew which was which, and to my knowledge, D-Dub never came out and specified. All they did was just come out and fix it again, which is again where we come to today, where now he only takes up 4 spaces. So you still have 18 other slots in that battle wagon to run whatever Gitz you want. So it's not like you're buying a battle wagon exclusively for Ghazzy. And we'll talk about whether you want to run this with him or not later. Alright, now as for detachments as to what you want to run Ghazzy, what I want to do, because Ghazzy is our big main Git of the army, that I wouldn't blame you if you'd want to run him in every single detachment in the army. There's definitely some more standout ones, but I just want to go down the list, tell you whether I give the Crump a sign of approval to run Ghazzy in a certain detachment, or if I disapprove of it. So first up, of course, I'm going to talk about Warhorde. Warhorde is a certified, yes, you definitely want to run Gaz in. Makari's lethal aura, stacking with Warhord's sustain hits 1 that it just gives to all Gitz in melee anyways, it just multiplies your damage output. Take any melee unit we've got. Knobs, Mega Knobs, Breaker Boys, hell, just regular boys. Run normal boys into combat. They have sustained hits off of Warhord's ability. Makari's next to them, giving them lethals as well. So that's lethal and sustained. Plus, if you want to, you've got that stratagem to give yourself critical 5s. It just means you're doing so much damage. Hell, even Ghaz's unit himself just gets crit 5s just from his ability. So getting extra attacks and extra wounds on 5s and 6s is very good. Definitely run Ghaz. And when you do in Warhorde, make sure Makari is positioned on that war turn to be able to benefit as many Gitz as you can. Next is Bully Boys, which I also would recommend running Ghaz. Ghaz does indeed have the War Boss keyword and will give it to whatever unit he's leading, which means whatever unit you put this guy, this lad with, you'll have another double Wing Bully Boys unit. Which is important because we talked about before that Bully Boys is a little bit more difficult to try to make a list for. Because again, the detachment rule only benefits boss units, knob units, mega knob units. So this way you can run your mega bosses with your mega knobs, your war bosses with your regular knobs, and then Ghazzy can load up with some boys or breaker boys or something, and they will also benefit from that detachment. Next up is Green Tide, which I also would say is very good for Ghaz. Because again, since Ghaz can be added to your big bricks of boys, which is already running a Green Tide, it means that you can have that big damaging melee brick in the form of Ghaz with his AP3 full flat damage attacks in melee, plus he's going to make the big 20-man blob that he's with, +1 to hit, +1 to wound, critical hits on 5s with lethals off of Makari during the war. It adds a big damaging unit, which is an element of Green Tide that you typically don't see, because usually Green Tide's game plan is to just swarm the board with boys, take all the objectives, and deny your opponent from ever getting primary points. You're not meant to kill your opponent, you're just meant to score more than your opponent. But with Ghaz there, he can actually kill some Gitz pretty good. Plus, you get some extra added durability, because again, you have to kill the 20 boys in front of him before you can kill himself. So that's another reason why he's good in that one. Next up is Cult of Speed. This is the first one that I would definitely not run Ghazzy in. Ghazzy does not have the Speed Freaks keyword and cannot join a unit that already does have the Speed Freaks keyword, so he doesn't end up fitting in just about any list that I would make with Cult of Speed. Again, if you want a high damaging melee unit, you could throw Ghaz in there, but just know that he's not gonna mesh with or synergize with anything else in that list. And due to his high price point, he's probably just better taking a bunch of other bikes or deathcopters or something. Next is the Big Hunt, which is also a big no for me. And I just have noted that similarly, Ghaz is not and cannot join Beast Snagger units, meaning he's not going to be benefiting from what days give him, and vice versa. If he's running the Big Hunt, load up on your beast bosses with beast snaggers, throw them in kill rigs, play the game that way, don't run Ghaz. Next is Dread Mob. Again, don't run Ghaz. Ghaz looks like a walking tank. He's effectively an orky dreadnought. Just a really fancy one, but unfortunately Ghaz does not identify as a walking tank, which means he will not benefit from pressing any buttons. And even then, it's not like giving him sustained lethals on his shooting weapons is going to do anything anyways, because it's not the greatest of weapon in the first place. So do not run Ghaz in Dread Mob. Next is Tactical Brigade. This is my first one that I'm kind of iffy on. You can run them, or you can't run them. They're kind of an in-between. This is where it kind of gets up to dealer's choice. Ghaz does have the boss keyword, which means he can issue orders to orc units. but normal bosses can do that, Snickrock can do that, even mechs can do that, so you have plenty of other options for giving your lads orders. Whereas Gaz is definitely not an auto take because of that. But if you like running Gaz and you like Tactical Brigade, I won't fault you for bringing him. Just me personally, might skip it. And lastly, more Daka. That's another one I'm kind of iffy on. Giving Gaz Assault and access to sustain hits 1 on his gun, again, isn't great, but it is an option, you know. Giving him Assault is probably the better rule in this situation, because again, that just means that when you're typically advancing Gaz up the board to be able to then charge into some Gitz, Assault at least lets him shoot his gun up in the air and maybe plink a couple wounds off something before he gets into melee. So again, it's better than nothing, but not ideal. I'd definitely skip him if I was to run more Daka, but again, you could run him if you want to. Alright, so next up is a couple list ideas. First up, I got a good old Warhorde list here. Comes out to 1995 points. Headed by Mr. Ghazghkull himself at 235 points. Along with him, he's running Boss Snickrot, one Beast Boss, a War Boss with Head Whopper's Kill Chopper, and a War Boss with Follow Me Lads for the extra movement. Then he's rocking 10 boys, 10 Beast Snagger boys, one 11-pack of Gretchen, the 10-pack of Commandos to split, 5 knobs times 2, 1 pack of 5 Storm Boys, 2 packs of Tank Busters, 2 5-man Flash Kits, 1 5-pack of Burner Boys, a single Battle Wagon, and 2 trucks. So the gist for this list is, of course, you're going to take the Beast Boss, put him with the Beast Snagger Boys. You have the 2 War Bosses, 1 for each of the 2 5-pack Knob squads. Because in this list, you're going to run that SWAT team style loadout, where you take a truck, you put a 5-man Knob with a War Boss unit in it, and then a 5-man Flash Kit in it behind them to have multiple units to jump out and either charge something, or jump out and shoot then charge something with the Flash Kits. It just gives you versatility. I've got 2 of them packs. But then I got the Battle Wagon for Ghazzy in this case, and Ghazzy is going to roll up with the 10-pack of boys. Because for me personally, that is how I think I'm going to run Ghazzy from here on out. And again, I'll explain that on Tabletop. But for now, just know that Ghazzy with Makari and 10 boys is going to be 15 spots in a Battle Wagon. So that still leaves you 7 slots afterwards to run a 5-man of Flash Kits or Burner Boys or a 6-pack of Tank Busters in with them Gitz and still have slots left over. So not a bad idea, in my opinion. Next list is a Bully Boys list here. So this one's 2,000 points on the nose, running Ghazzy of course, 2 War Bosses, and 2 War Boss in Mega Armors. One is running the Teleporter enhancement to give his unit Deep Strike, and the other one is running Biggest Boss, just because I had some points left over, and it'll make this lad even harder to try to crump. Along with these bosses, I've got 1 10-pack of boys, again for Ghazzy, 1 pack of Gretchen, 2 3-packs of Mega Knobs to try to keep them as cheap as possible without going down to 2. Each of those Mega Knobs is going to go with their Mega Boss, of course. 2 5-pack Knob squads to go with the War Bosses, 10-pack of Commandos, 1 5-pack of Storm Boys, 1 5-pack of Burner Boys, 2 packs of Tank Busters, 1 Battle Wagon, and 3 trucks. The Battle Wagon, again, there for Gaz and the boys, and then the Burner Boys to hop in as those extra spots in the Battle Wagon. So with Gaz in this detachment, again, like we said before, having Gaz with the boys will give them that boss keyword for them to then be able to benefit from the double war. That's another reason why you might want to run this kit with your boys. So both of these lists I consider to be quite good, and I would definitely suggest them if you are looking to try out the new Gaz on the table. Alright, so here's where he says lad. As you can see, I've got good old Ghazzy and Makari here on the tabletop, and I'm going to do things a little bit different here. You see, I haven't had deployed my entire army on the table quite yet. I've got a couple infiltrating units here, my 2 commando squads and Snickrot chilling out. Welcome back to the table from the previous video. These are the Blueberry Ultramarines. This is the same list that I went over previously, but I'm going to use them as my talking points here as to, again, how he's going to want to run good old Ghazzy here. So, when it comes to running Gaz, you have plenty of different options here. And I'll try to go over each one in brief but also in-depth detail. So first up, the one configuration that a lot of Gitz are talking about as of late, that seems to be quite popular, is this one. The big 20-pack of boys, headed up by a weird boy, and Ghazzy, of course. Because remember, the boys have that funky leader rule that allows you to attach 2 characters to the boy unit instead of just one, but the caveat is that one of those 2 characters has to be a war boss. In this case, Ghazzy fits that profile. So the reason I see a lot of lads doing this configuration is because Ghazzy's main downfall is that he only moves 5 inches, which is very slow, don't get me wrong. The slow movement coupled with his very large base means that he's very difficult to maneuver around the table without either getting stuck behind a wall, because he just doesn't physically have enough movement to get to the other side of the wall with how wide his base is, or he doesn't have enough movement to get completely behind a wall without his ass sticking out on one side for your opposing Gitz to just shoot him all up all day long. So having a weird boy to be able to jump Ghazzy across the table will help mitigate the fact that he's got short, stubby legs. But I don't quite like this combination too much. I've ran it a couple times, and both times I ran it, I wasn't too impressed with it. For starters, 20 boys, a weird boy, and Ghazzy comes to 470 points. And I just think that's too much, lads. In 10th edition 40k, especially if you're running orcs, you do not want to have a single unit taking up almost a quarter of your points allotted for the game, lads. It's just way too zogging much. Too many eggs in one basket. It means that this unit has to perform well, and not have any mess-ups or hiccups. Because if it does, if it jumps across the board, fails that deep strike charge, and it's just caught out in the open with the pants down and just gets picked up off the table in the next turn, then that is quite literally a quarter of your army, almost 500 zogging points that did nothing. And you don't want that, lads. Like, at the end of the day, this is a dice game. If the dice betray you and one of your units just gets obliterated off the table, so you didn't make that charge, so you didn't get a high enough advance roll to get around a corner, whatever have you, and your unit dies, you don't want that unit to be 500 zogging points. But I'm not done yet. Let's look at this. So if I deploy, what I do is I deploy this unit in the back, ready to jump as soon as physically possible, because I need this unit to get into my opposing Git's face as soon as I can and start just doing some big old damage. Because again, with 470 points hidden in my backfield, that means there's not going to be nearly as much up front with the rest of my army to be able to push into these blueberries. So turn 1, say I try to jump with my weird boy, which isn't even guaranteed, by the way. You still have to roll that 2-up. And let me tell you, yes, it is a 2-up. There's a very high likelihood that you do it. But let me tell you, as someone who's played this many a time, you will roll that 1. And you will roll that 1 way more often than you think, lads. And when you do, not only will you not jump, you will also take D6 mortals onto your own squad. And let me also say, when you roll that D6 for mortal wounds on yourself, it's gonna be a 5 or 6 lads, every time. So, say you don't have the unfortunate luck of rolling the 1, so you do get the 2+, and you are allowed to jump the Weird Boy and Ghazzy's unit. Well, see, now this is turn 1. Say me as the orc player, I get to go first. Well, with how these blueberries have deployed, you see he's got a lot of infiltrating units. He's got a 5-pack of scouts over here on his expansion objective. He's got a 5-pack of scouts hiding behind this wall right outside his deployment zone. And he's got that funky Phobos lieutenant right smack up in the middle with his loner up to not be able to be shot from outside of 12 inches. Plus he's got that reactive move thingy if I try to even get near him. So he can deploy right out here in the open and be relatively safe from being damaged by most of what I's got. But he can deploy like this and be happy as a clam, because if I go turn 1 and I jump Ghazzy and the lads, where can I put this unit anywhere on this table and be outside of 9 inches of any other blueberry Gitz? And even if there is a space for me to do so, how the zog am I gonna fit 22 orc bodies anywhere on this board, you know? Like, I mean, I guess, yes, it is turn 1, so everything's pretty much screened out here, you know? 9 inches gets out to about there. This is, of course, all blocked up here. So if I were to jump, I'm gonna have to end up somewhere out here in the front. But even then, these scouts are cutting me out to right there. This Phobos guy is kicking me out to right here. So pretty much right in front of my deployment zone. These scouts over here sticking me out to right about there. So if I were to jump turn 1, my best option would probably be to throw Ghazzy and his unit like all inside this building. But even then, say these commandos weren't there, like how am I supposed to, how am I gonna hide this? How am I gonna hide this? There's no way for me to do so. I could maybe try to cram as many Gitz as I can in here, but unless they somehow get a big long charge off, like these Hellblasters here are just gonna walk up and blow the unit off the table. So you're almost incentivized right out of the gate, turn 1, or whenever it is that you end up jumping, to just go for the super ballsy play and go for that deep strike charge. Which means you're relying on a 9-inch charge into whatever it is you want to get into. And me personally, I don't want to rely on a 9-inch charge. Do the math, a 9-inch charge is like less than a 45% chance. It's like a 37% chance of success. If you spend a CP on it, it's a little bit higher, but even then, not guaranteed by any means. Now, if you use in Warhorde and you want to spend the CP for, here we go, to give your unit +2 to advance and charge, that means when you do end up jumping 9 inches away from your opponent, then that'll be a 9-inch charge +2 from the stratagem. So now it's a 7-inch charge, which is a 50-50. But if you have to spend a CP on it, then you're 2 CP in the hole at this point. And if it's turn 1, unless your Grot's got you the extra CP off your home objective, then you're not going to be having 2 CP. But even then, like, say you get in here and you completely obliterate this lieutenant, then Ghazzy and all of his boys are somewhere here in the middle of the board, turn 1, with nowhere to call their home, and then they just get shot up by everything on the blueberry side. I think this strategy is just way too ballsy of a move, and if your opponent is even semi good at the game, he's not going to let you do it. Because there's no way you're deep striking it anywhere in the backfield, even if that wasn't there, even if this Redemptor wasn't there, you know, like there is a hole back here, something like there and here. So you've got a little hole like this to deep strike in, But again, there's no way I'm putting all of this back there plus gas, you know? This is a perfect deep strike spot for 5 Storm Boys to give me some secondary objectives. Perfect for Snickrot to do his uppy downy, to do an action in the backfield, you know, something like that. Not for Gaz and 22 Gitz to pop up and most likely fail a charge. So yeah, I definitely suggest not doing that, lads. As for our next configuration, we are running again the 20-man boy squad, except in this time we've got a pain boy leading up these lads. This is going to be if you want to run Green Tide. I mean, you could throw it in Warhorde as well. And what this acts as is a very large, durable unit, because you've got 20 toughness 5 orcs with 1 wound apiece, 2 wounds on the knob. The pain boy here is given all them Gitz 5 up feel no pain, and he can bring back D3 of them once per game. And then he's got Ghazzy, who himself is toughness 10, or no, sorry, toughness 6 with 10 wounds, and then Makari, who's got the 2 up invul. So it makes it to where it's pretty hard to shift a big unit like this. But again, you is gonna be paying for it, lads. A pain boy is even more expensive than a weird boy. So 20 boys, a pain boy, and Gaz for this runs you 485 points. 15 points more than the weird boy brick. Now you's really getting close to having this being a quarter of your list. So again, I would not recommend this, lads. Because not only is it expensive, and it's too many eggs in one basket like I've said, but especially in this game where we're playing on layout 4, which is a very scrutinized layout by a lot of people in the community, due to the firing lanes being able to see into the opponent's deployment zone right away, makes it very hard to hide your Gitz. With a unit like this, if I want to try and put it as far up the board as I can in deployment, to be able to run upwards as quick as I possibly can and do some damage, because I need to, again, because this unit's so zogging expensive. Like, there's no way, there's no zogging possibility for me to hide all 23 models of this unit without being seen. Even if I put Makari way over here for whatever reason. Like, look, like there is, like this is easy line of sight, bright as day. There's no way I can put this unit here. So instead, I'd have to put it probably somewhere back here. But even then, like, right here, they can be seen down Main Street this way. So if instead I put them over here or something, well, then all this stuff over here can move up to about there, see down the range, and shoot them this way. So it's very hard to hide this big brick of lads. So yeah, I would definitely not recommend the 20-man brick with gas, in any configuration really. There's so many different ways you could run them, and we'll see especially in these other options. So next up's going to be this one. This is Ghazzy here with 10 knobs. Now Ghazzy with 10 knobs is going to be 445 points, so cheaper than the other two 20-man brick squads that we've seen, but still, again, way too pricey for my liking, lads. But what you's getting is definitely very attractive, because Ghazzy is going to give these knobs +1 to hit and wound, lethal hits, and critical hits on 5s. And the knobs are also going to give Gaz the knobs are going to give the entire unit -1 to be wounded if they're being targeted by weapons higher than strength 5, which is of course their toughness. So you've got a big, durable brick of lads that are going to hit quite hard. As I've always said, that the biggest detriment to knobs is that even with all power claws, even on the wall, power claws are only going to be strength 10. Meaning that they's definitely going to struggle into vehicles. you're wounding common vehicles on 4s, but anything tougher than that, you know, your Lehman Russes, your Rogal Dawns, your Land Raiders, your big Imperial Knights, whose toughness 11 and 12, you're gonna be wounding them Gitz on 5s. And that ain't too good for the knobs. So Ghazzy being in there, letting them wound them on +1s, helps out a lot. But then again, you've also got Ghazzy himself in the unit, and Ghazzy can flip tanks no problem with the AP 3-4 damage. So really, if you look at it that way, this unit is kind of just overkill into whatever it is that you're just going to put it into, which therefore means it's not going to be as efficient, because you don't want to be sending a 445 point unit to go kill one tank and then be standing out in the open doing zog all for the rest of the turn. So yeah, say you got these lads deployed, they come up, they blow up some big vehicle right here, and they just end up being out in the open to get shot up to pieces. It's going to be a hard unit to shift, again, because of the -1 to wound, and the fact that knobs are just 4-up armors and 2 wounds apiece. But I just think it's too expensive for my liking, and there's more points-efficient ways of running Gaz. Alright, next up is the tried and true 2 Mega Knobs. This is the classic configuration, this is the one that everybody ran before, is just Ghazzy with 2 Mega Knobs. And the reason being is because Gaz at 235 is expensive. So you want to keep him on the cheaper end, so that way you have more points left over in your list to run other units. So 2 Mega Knobs comes out to only 65 points, so quite cheap. The configuration of the two comes out to an even 300 points. Ghazzy gives the Mega Knobs all the benefits he has, and then the Mega Knobs will get the 5-up Feel No Pain if used on the wall, which will help make Ghazzy's unit here more durable. And I still feel like this is a good configuration, especially because you can throw it in a battle wagon. And with Ghazzy again only taking up 4, you're looking at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 spots in the battle wagon for this little unit here. So that still leaves you 13 spots in the battle wagon to run whatever it is you want to run in there. And again, the battle wagon will help Ghazzy out with his low movement speed. So I definitely say that this is still a very strong package to run the big boss man with, in my opinion. After that, you're going to run into a few Gitz who like running the big 6-pack of Mega Knobs with Gaz. Which, again, on paper doesn't sound bad, you know, Mega Knobs hit on 4s, Ghazzy making them hit back on 3s is real nice. Giving them +1 to wound will make them power claws, cutting the vehicles much easier. But again, it comes down to points, lads. Too many eggs in one basket. 6 Mega Knobs and Gaz, you're looking at 425 points. And unlike with the Weird Boy brick, where you have the weird movement shenanigans to help mitigate Gaz's low movement speed, the Mega Knobs are just as slow as this big old Git. And unless you want to pay for a battle wagon, which again is 160 points, which add that all up, you're at, again, well over 500 points for your list. And in this case, this is going to take up, what, 12, 16, 17 spots? There's still 5 spots left over. So you could still run, you know, 5 Flash Kits, 5 Burner Boys, whatever it is. But again, the Battle Wagon package, it's going to be way too many points, lads. Keep them cheap, so you can spend your points on other lads. Like your Knobs, your Tank Busters, your Storm Boys, your Trucks, whatever it is. Try to keep Gaz cheap, because whenever you use buying Gaz, you're getting all the big benefits that come with Gaz, plus the impressive melee profile, to where you almost don't want to run him with any other unit because he's so good on himself. But again, if you are going to run him with a unit, keep it cheap. Alright, and finally we're going to get to my new favorite configuration, which is the 10 boy idea. Now, the reason I like this is because, one, again, the points are cheap. 10 boys is 80 points. So 80 points for 10 boys, plus gas for 235. You're looking at 315. So pricey, but again, you're not breaking the bank. I would then throw this unit into a battle wagon for 160. That is going to take up 15 slots. That still leaves you 7 slots left over, which is why I've got these tank buster boys here, because you can have enough space to throw them in there with these lads. Or some flash kits or burner boys. Just to have extra units to hop out of that battle wagon and run off and do objectives. But the reason I like the 10 boys is because before, when I run the 2 Mega Knobs. Now again, the Mega Knobs were cheap. It was only 65 points. Well, now it's 65 points. They were more expensive before, but they went down in points. With the 2 Mega Knobs, what you get for 65 points now is 2 Toughness 6 bodies with a 2-up armor save and a 5-up Feel No Pain only during the war. Which is durable, but only to a certain point, right lads? Most of the time, my opponent would shoot me enough to kill the 2 Mega Knobs. Then afterwards, they would huck a grenade at Ghazzy to get around Makari's 2-up invuln, kill Makari, and now I'm just down to Gaz. And I found that my opponent would do that very, very quickly. So now what I've been doing is I've been running 10 boys. Now, an individual boy is a lot worse than a Mega Knob. Boy's tough 5, got 5-up armor save, 1 wound, no Feel No Pain. Mega Knob, toughness 6, 2-up armor, 5-up Feel No Pain during the war. Much better. But for 80 points, instead of 65, you get 10 bodies. Which is 10 bodies that can soak up wounds and or big shots. Before, Gaz and Makari have to take up the shots. And that's why I like running them. Because they're effectively just more bodies in a bodyguard unit to help chauffeur Gaz into melee effectively. Because again, I mean, if Ghazzy ends up getting thrown out of his battle wagon, you know, a couple boys die when the vehicle blows up, Ghazzy then runs up the board, say he gets overwatched, and another like 4, 5 boys die on the way in, and Ghazzy's just down to 3 boys and Makari when he finally hits melee. I'm fine with that, because it means that he's still leading his unit, so he's going to be benefiting from the +1 to hit, +1 to wound, 5-up critical hits that he gives to his unit, and by extension himself. And whereas, yes, the unit's wounded, and the boys aren't going to be doing as much damage anymore, because there's not as many of them, I'm fine with that, because again, Ghazzy is the big damage dealer in this unit. You want to protect him as much as you can, so he can come up and flip as many tanks and other unsuspecting Gitz as possible. Let your big man do all the big man damage and the big man work. And if you keep it cheap, with this little 315 point package, then you will have plenty of other points in your list to run a battle wagon for. Run tank busters to go in there as well. You will still have plenty enough points to run a 10-pack of knobs with a war boss as a second big hard-hitting unit. You could even throw in the 6-pack of Mega Knobs with the war boss as another hard-hitting unit, and you will still have plenty of points left over for other things. Orcs are the best when they can keep up that pressure on your opponent and force them into making bad decisions because you just threat overload them so much. That's why in list building I talk about making sure you have as many units as possible to make your opponent think as much as possible on how he's going to deal with all them orc units staring at him in the face. So yeah, that's why I've been running Gaz with just 10 boys. It's not bad, it's pretty effective, it's easy to hide, especially if you want to run into battle wagon. Because again, even on this crappy layout 4, your battle wagon can, just like this, stick behind this terrain right here. Yeah, maybe something like this. And we're free from this line of sight here. And we are mostly free from this line of sight. If something came up to about there, it could probably see us. So if the Blueberry Gitz decided to hit the Devastator Doctrine to advance and shoot, then they could probably shoot a couple things in the battle wagon, but it's not like it's going to be the big bazooka tanks or anything like that. So this battle wagon is pretty safe here. If I instead wanted to put it up like this might be a bit scary. These battle wagons are also pretty big. Anything that could get to this line could shoot it. Which, if you're running against an army that has a lot of big guns that you need to be worried about, then I probably wouldn't deploy it here, but otherwise you could probably put it there to be able to move up into the midboard, drop off your lads, do a bunch of damage that way. Because again, otherwise, if you don't have the battle wagon, then you have to try to hide and then subsequently move. 10 boys, Makari and Gaz, which is, I don't know, a lot harder to do because they just take up a bigger footprint, especially off of Gaz on his 80 mil base. So again, that's why I run the battle wagon with him. But yeah, long story short, keep things cheap so you can bring a lot of things. That is the true Orky way, and if anything, that's what I'd say to take from this video. But yeah, other than that, that's all I got for you lads today. This is definitely going to be a long one, again, just because there's so many different options with Ghazzy specifically. Because again, he's the main character of the orcs. He's very versatile, and he brings a lot to the table, and especially with them data slate changes, there's so many options that you can bring this gear with. So hopefully it didn't seem too rambly. I know I definitely repeated myself on many an occasion. But anyways, hope you got some info out of this. Let me know what you think in the comments. And hope you enjoy your day, lads. So with that, that's been the Daily Crumper, signing out.